In Barking, Pete, the council's pest controller, has been called out to a 3-bed house to catch up with some of his regular punters, German cockroaches. The tenant has reported seeing more and more during the day, which in itself doesn't bode well. If the cockroaches are cruising about in the daylight hours, it means that as they're normally nocturnal, the infestation could be huge. On first inspection, Pete's prognosis is somewhat concerning.
I would say a good few hundred. Good few hundred, I would say. Especially if you come at night. Only because I can see by the stages of the nymphs on the top here. They're just running everywhere. If you see them during the day, walking around in cupboards and all that, you will have a problem. I'll guarantee that once I pull these out, that there should be a fair amount, because it's warm and it's dark. It's a good hiding place for them.
Before Pete delves behind the white goods, he administers pinprick-sized blobs of poison in the dark recesses of the worktops and the cupboards. This poison is utterly delicious to the cockroach, and as cockroaches are also cannibalistic, secondary poisoning will knock out loads more as the others eat the carcasses. But time now to see what's behind the fridge.
Right, basically what I want to do is, seeing the numbers of cockroaches, I will be surprised if we ain't got a lot behind here. So I want to try and pull them out on these and have a look behind them.
But nothing can prepare Pete for what's lurking in the dark.
This is one of the worst I've ever seen.
With an infestation of this magnitude, Pete's going to have to use the whole arsenal of poisons available to him to even stand a chance of getting the upper hand. In Barking, after moving the fridge in the kitchen, pest controller Pete is shocked how bad the infestation of cockroaches really is.
It's one of the worst I've come across for the sheer number of adults.
Against this huge number of cockroaches, his syringe full of poison is somewhat pointless on its own. He needs something more immediate. Time to evaluate a plan of action.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to put some sticky white rope traps down so they run straight in and they get stuck on it. By tomorrow, he most probably might have 50, 60, maybe 100 in there, which means that's better than just using the poison. It's just a quicker way of zapping them.
The sticky pads attract the cockroaches to the bait in the centre, but they get stuck on the cardboard surrounding the bait, so hopefully that way the numbers can be reduced in a matter of hours. So with the sticky trap laid, best to confront what's behind the second fridge. What is revealed is Pete's worst nightmare. Literally hundreds more roaches in all states of development, from adults to young nymphs of all sizes. This infestation is getting out of control, and Pete could be close to giving up.
Leaving with them, I'm going home, I'm going back to lorry driving. Basically, we know the problem, we can see the problem, we just got to get on top of the problem.
Pete's got to act fast as they're multiplying before his very eyes.
As you can see, you got a pair there mating. So we end up with another 30, 40 babies, which I don't think really matters to him at the moment after seeing all this lot up here and round there. If someone's got a phobia of insects, then, you know, they would have to move out. There's no way they'd live in this house.
If what was behind the fridge is horrendous, the only bit of good news is the sticky pad is almost immediately having an effect.
Just a minute ago, you see me bait this up and pull it down there. We open this up, and that is in the space of how many minutes? Minute and a half, 2 minutes.
After really taking stock of the situation, Pete feels he has no option now but to wheel in the big guns. Let's hope this insecticide will allow him to at least start winning the battle on the thousands of roaches. In Dagenham, Pete is having a final attempt to deal with the infestation of cockroaches in one of the council's houses. He's now wheeling out his insecticide to hopefully give the cockroaches a real run for their money, but they're already fighting back.
I've actually got one on me there. I can feel it, I can't see it. I've got them all on my canister as well. Just all on you, ain't they? Alright, this is stuff I'm using, Fendona. We use them on cockroaches in big mass infestations. And as you can see, look, there's a pair here breeding. You know, we've got our work cut out.
So with no time to waste, Pete liberally sprays the Fendona all round the kitchen. The spray won't kill the cockroaches immediately, but should have a drastic effect on them over the next few weeks. He'll have to return in 3 weeks to take stock of how all his various poisons and traps have affected the roaches' population. Meantime, the tenant will just have to watch where he's putting the washing up. For Pete, though, it's vital that he doesn't take any of the roaches home with him. A quick look reveals one's already planning a bid for freedom, and there's also a few more on the pavement.
One there, 2, 3.
Best then to meticulously check everywhere.
Basically, I've got to strip right down to virtually nothing. I know it might seem a bit OT over the top, but at the end of the day, you see the infestation in there. I don't want that in my house, so I prefer to take this procedure. I know I ain't got the best body, but there you go. This is the worst I've had. I've never had this many on me.
After spraying down not only himself but also the camera crew, Pete is pretty sure he isn't taking any presents home with him, so hopefully the infestation will remain solely in the unfortunate tenant's kitchen. In Barking, Peter the pest controller has arrived at a premises to continue his confrontation with one of the country's most unwelcome household guests.
Right, we're in Barking and I've got a cockroach job. I was called out yesterday and the infestation's quite bad, so I've got to come back and sort it out more thorough and seriously.
Cockroaches are one of the most difficult pests to eradicate. Legend has it that they are the only creatures that could survive a nuclear holocaust. They also spread diseases like dysentery, typhoid and gastroenteritis. All in all, a revolting and formidable opponent for Peter.
I come here yesterday and I found loads of cockroaches, all different sizes, from nymphs to adults, on all the cupboard areas. If we can have a look in this one here, as you can see, we've got a couple of cockroaches down the side here. Most jobs I'd go to, you only see telltale signs, which are like all black dots from the faeces, which gives you evidence that there is cockroaches there. They're more nocturnal. If you've got any big infestation, as we've got in this kitchen, you will actually see them running around during the day, as I will point them out going around, because I can see a few now. If you can see one, you can identify the species, which we've got the German cockroach here. But this house, for some reason, if you can see loads of them running around, which you can, you know that the infestation's been going on for a long time. If you come here at night, the floor would actually get up and literally move. All the cupboard areas will move. I've spoke to the owner as well, and she said it's a nightmare.
For Peter, and most importantly his clients, to have a chance at all of getting rid of the cockroaches, understanding their life cycle and how they live is vital to potential success.
I'll carry this around for the people, as you see the owner here, and I'll explain, like, there's the adults, which we have here, and then you've got the egg capsule, which is that at the back, which they carry. Then you've got your nymph, and then your nymph stage, as you can see, as they're getting bigger, as they molt out, they get bigger and bigger. And then on the last molt, they produce the wing cases, and then that's how you get the adults, which then sexually mature for breeding again.
This life cycle lasts about 3 months, and in that time, a single female will release thousands of eggs to add to the infestation. To get rid of cockroaches, the only successful way is the use of poison. The one thing you mustn't ever do is tread on them.
You never ever crush the cockroach, especially females. If you stamp on them, you're dispersed in the eggs. The eggs are going to hatch out anyway. So you don't want to spread the infestation even bigger.
Over in Barking, Peter, the council's pest controller, is preparing to unleash his tube of poison on the unsuspecting infestation of cockroaches. To them, though, they'll initially think it's Christmas.
If a kid wanted a lollipop or see any sweets, they would run for the sweets before they would eat their dinner. And that's the same with this, which I can actually show you in this house by putting a little drop down and watching them run to it straight away.
The cockroaches are normally nocturnal, but it just takes a little drop of the poison to coax them out of their slumbers.
It's secondary poisoning. Once the adults eat it, or the nymphs eat it, if they die, and an adult will eat another adult, which is dead, or eat a nymph, which is dead, then they will get secondary poisoning and they will die.
As Peter starts to inject the sweet-tasting poison wherever he can that's safe to the children in the house, it gives him a little time to reflect.
I love this job. It's one of the best jobs I've found on destroying stuff. I do a lot of hunting anyway. I've got firearms, I do a lot of deer stalking, but the best thing I enjoy more than anything is catching rats. I know it sounds silly about going hunting, but I do like conservation as well. Especially the endangered species. I mean, if the German cockroach becomes endangered and we found them, I'd try and set up some form of group and try and get them back together again.
After injecting the poison all over the kitchen, it's going to be about 4 weeks before Peter knows whether his plan has worked, but he's sure it will.
All the cockroaches will go, and I'm very confident. Come back in 4 weeks and you'll see a difference. You've got to be confident in this game, because if you're not, you're letting yourself down and you're letting the public down. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for, to help the public.
In Dagenham, the householder's distress call means an unexpected and risky challenge for pest controller Pete.
Getting late in the evening now, but we had to leave this one a bit late. We're doing a wasp nest. It's very rare to get them this time of year. Usually they've died out and the females are all gone somewhere to hibernate. But this one's really active.
We're having to keep the bedroom window closed all the time. I noticed them coming off the roof and near the gutter and then going in, and there were so many of them. My son-in-law tried to put a bit of filler, actually, to stop them getting in, but because there were so many of them trying to get in, it was a bit dodgy and he'd get stung. So he did his best, but it didn't seal him off.
But Pete is a professional.
It's down to me. If anyone's going to get stung, it's going to be me who's going to get stung, and it's most probably down to my stupidity. So if I take the precautions right and measures right, I shouldn't get stung.
The wasp's nest is in the loft. The trouble is, they still think it's summer, and they're still very much ready for action.
As you can see the size of the wasp here, it's a female. The workers are half the size of these. They pack more venom and more sting. Apart from that, they all hurt, regardless if they're big or small.
Pete has the advantage of surprise, for now.
Getting a bit leery now, the wasps, they're all going to be on us in a minute. And I've just been stung on the leg, and that hurts. I'm going to isolate the nest with just ordinary pyrethrum spray. This has stopped the wasps when if they do come out, they'll just stay back hopefully in the nest. Right, so now I'll get me D5. This will kill them. Wipe them right out. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a little incision.
Rather him than me.
I can feel the wasp in there now. So what I'm going to do is then fill the hole up with fire cam. I'm also going to put one at the bottom here. Well, the actual fire cam's in there, and what's it doing? It just I don't know. It just literally mullers them. They just can't stand it. There's one there coming out with fire cam all on him. Look, and you see, look how it's reacting. Look, it's not really happy, is it? Okay. Basically, it takes about 2 hours for the fire cam to work in the nest and kill them all outright.
But Pete wants to remove the nest straight away.
It could go wrong. Everything can go wrong. You know, it could be. I could pull the nest a little bit and it'll break somewhere, and then they'll all come out at me. So I've got to be a bit careful. Okay, what I'm going to do is whack that over like that.
It's often said a wasp's sting in winter is more powerful.
I've just been stung again.
Despite being stung twice, Pete gets the nest into the bag.
Leave that there a minute. As you can see, what with the spray I put in there as well, they're sort of going a bit mental in there, buzzing around.
For Pete, just another victory.
You're going to be one happy bunny now. The wasps are all in there, you can see the size of it. Oh. And there. So I'll see you next year for another one.
Oh, I hope not.
Thanks to Pete, one Dagenham family can get back to normal.
I can leave my windows open there.
And leave Pete to examine his prize.
It's amazing. It's all done on segments. Look, as you can see, look, there's like little joins there which holds it together.
Now he makes a surprising discovery.
You can actually see that we've still got some more grubs to hatch out, as you can see here, which is really amazing for this time of year. They're going on about the ice cap melting and all that. Well, I mean, I know nothing about all that. I'm no scientist, but I know that all the insects this year has been going on longer than it has done the last few years we've been doing pest control. Get that put away, get ready to be incinerated.
The future for the planet may look bleak, but not for Pete. He's off home.
In Dagenham, East London, Pete the pest controller's war on the borough's unwelcome guests continues. This morning, he's been called back for the 4th time to a flat where the family are suffering from an infestation of bedbugs, one of the most difficult insects to eradicate, but this time he's upped the ante with some serious insecticide.
Well, we've got another exciting day, as usual. We've been here before on this one. The stuff I was using before didn't seem to knock them out. They sort of got resistant against it, and so I've had to go over to a new stuff which I'm using, Ficam W, which is bendiocarb. Hopefully this stuff will knock them right out and they should have a good night's sleep.
Bedbugs don't only live in beds, they inhabit skirting boards and cracks and crevices in the bedroom, so Pete has to diligently search every part of the kids' room. They feed on your blood and detect heat from your body as you sleep. They're also attracted to the carbon dioxide a person breathes or snores out in the night. Once they've located you asleep and obviously very still, so an easy target, they'll suck their fill of blood from you. The state of the children's mattress is a terrible indication as to how bad the problem in this bedroom really is.
These are blood spots. Well, see, the children have been sleeping on the bed, been bit, and the blood's just come out before it's actually congealed on the person or the host. They can also be on animals. They can actually get on cats and dogs as well and take blood from them as well. So this is sort of like a prime area to start looking for when you've got evidence on the mattress.
Bed bugs are tiny, the biggest being around 5 millimetres long, and when they're not filled with blood, they're opaque in colour, making them even more difficult to locate. So Pete's investigations will have to be meticulous. In Dagenham, Pete, the council's pest controller, is continuing to assess the infestation of bed bugs in a children's bedroom. He's collecting as many as he can to take away and incinerate before he lets loose with his insecticide. For Pete, though, getting up close and personal with the bed bugs is what life's all about.
They're quite fascinating creatures, and I'm fascinated about them. They don't actually bite you, they inject you. They've got like long tubes, 2 long tubes at the front of their head and their eyes above the top. And what happens is the tubes will penetrate the skin. One of them will penetrate the skin, and then they produce an anticoagulant which stops the blood clotting, and then the other tube goes in and sucks the blood out, which fills the actual body cavity of them, and because they're transparent, it all fills up with blood, and that's where you get the brown looking bedbug. You could actually see some of the babies actually filling up with blood if they were draining the blood from a host.
Bedbugs normally reside in the lower echelons of a room or in the bed itself. It's very rare to see them higher up on the walls, unless there are any cracks for them to hide in.
Anywhere there's lines like this, usually where the wallpaper is, you'll get the bedbug in amongst them. But for some reason, what they've done is they put wallpaper up, but they're painted over the top, which stops the bedbug getting into it. They've not realised what they've done, but they've done a good thing by stopping the bedbug getting behind the wall. Otherwise we'd have to spray the whole ceiling, the whole wall. What I'm doing is trying to move stuff away, because all our trouble looking at it, and from the survey back there, is they're all underneath the skirting board. We've isolated the beds. We've got most of the bed bugs out of the beds, the ones which I can't get in the corner, which we spray. I don't think this is going to be a problem. I think we're on top of it now.
So after now his 4th visit to the flat and his painstaking investigation work, Pete reckons he's eventually got a grip on what's going on. So all that's left to do now is to give the whole bedroom a good spraying with the extra strength insecticide, and hopefully that should sort the problem.
I think it went very well. They'll be able to sleep in that bed tonight. Once the room's dry, I'm confident. I think it's going to work this time.
On a shopping street in Dagenham, there seems no cause for alarm. But round the back, there's a serious hygiene problem. It has to be tackled.
We're a disco hire shop. We hire disco equipment. We've had quite a bad problem with rats in the property over the past, I think, probably 3-4 months now. But they've been here about 6 months. You see them running down the road.
What's in rats?
But every cloud has a silver lining.
But he loves the rats. He loves it better than pedigree chum. Caught one. I come down and he's going, pulling it. I've had to pull him up like that. The rat's in his mouth. The rat's like shook it and got it out. But he loves the rats.
We've done about 1 kilo of rat poison in the past 2 weeks. Probably less than that, probably about 10 days. We've just rebaited the place today. We've done as much as we can, but there's only so much you can do.
It's time to call in the rat catcher-in-chief, Pest Controller Pete.
Supposed to be a plague of rats running around here. They've had a lot of clear out, so it's a bit hard to see if we're going to get the rats here. So we've just come down here to do a survey on it.
He doesn't take long to locate the problem. But Pete's got to be careful.
You don't really want to put your hands down there, because if it's a blocked hole at one end, there could be a rat sitting there. I've had many rats come out and run up, like, not run up your arm, but they run out and scutter around you to get away. But it ain't a nice feeling if you want to get bit. So I tend to use a little stick and just probe it in slowly. And you can feel where the holes are, where it's going. Look, it's going right through, nice and gentle.
Pete's not rushing this. He needs to get the lie of the land.
There's a big dead one there.
Is there?
Yeah, there's loads of big rats around here.
Okay, mate.
And up the other end, they like that.
All right, mate. Looking at it from here, with my experience, basically, it looks like a female, believe it or not, which is quite good, because obviously everyone knows that they produce the litter.
It's easy if you know where to look.
Yeah, 'cause you see the bite marks, teeth marks going along here, all along the edge here. It proves that the rats have been biting from outside to go in, not inside to get out.
The seasoned rat catcher follows the trail inside.
They're just everywhere, just by the droppings alone here, look. And they're literally, they are fresh. They are literally, they've been here while we're outside talking.
Of course, rats, and particularly an army of rats, need food supplies. And finding that isn't difficult.
As you can see, it's a lot of rat haven here for them as food. Free of charge. Yeah, come and ring it. Why are the rats getting in here? The main thing what we can actually see, it hasn't got a lid on. So for a start, this bin's got to go back to the council and get a lid put on like the next one. If you have a look on this one, you can see where the bags have been actually chewed and ripped open where the rats have gone in. If you have a look here, you can see like where the rats been. Look, they've got food in there, it's warm in there, it's dry in there. It's perfect. It's the only word I can use. Perfect.
Pete's seen all he needs, but he can't get to work straight away. He needs authorisation.
There is hard evidence of a big festation here. All I can do now is sit and wait for the environmental health to actually give the green light, and we're in.
Back in Dagenham, Pete's had the green light to give the rats hell, and he's come prepared. Of course, rats have rat-like cunning, but then Pete is pretty cunning too.
The actual location is very important to put a control box in and feeding stations, because obviously rats ain't going to run out in the open, they're going to run along the side, so I've got to look for telltale signs. So I think our best plan is bolt it straight onto that garage bit. We've got evidence of rats running through there, we've got grease stain marks through there, so it's quite obvious. It's not rocket science, but at the end of the day, it's knowing where to place the box. That's the key of it all. You know, you don't want it down there, you don't want it there, you want it where it's going to come out on a run.
The next decision is vital. You can't just use any kind of bait.
On this job, I reckon the wax bait is going to go down better than the seed bait. It's got a very sweet, pungent smell, and it attracts the rats quite well. They've got a very, very good sense of smell. This should be the kiddie.
This method may look quite simple, but it's how Pete uses this method which will be critical.
I've got left about a 3-inch gap from there to there, roughly, because when rats come through, if you put something close up tight, they tend to want to run past it. They're not used to seeing a box here, so they're going to stop and think, oh, what's that, and have a look. It'll take them 2 or 3 days. It might, because there's abundance of rats here, they might just go in it within half hour of us going. That's all done, all ready, all set, bolted in, and we'll wait and see. It's safe, no birds, no animals can get in there, only rats and mice.
But that's not the end of the story. There's more to come. In Dagenham, pest controller Pete resumes his struggle with rat-like cunning. Outside, he's laid some strategically placed bait boxes. But when Pete goes inside, he reveals some lethal new weapons.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use traps, ordinary traps. So what I'll do, because rats are very clever, we've got to put a bait on here, but make sure the bait's on there solid, because they tend to want to whip it off with their little tail, knock the chocolate off, which I'm going to use, and then eat the chocolate and the trap's still set. So what I do, I put a little bit of super glue on the trap, put the chocolate on the super glue. They can't flick it off with their tail. It's on a spring, obviously, the trap, so they've got to try and tug it. The moment they tug it, the plate goes down, bang, we've got ourselves a nice rat.
These rodents are proving elusive, but Pete is a man with a very sound plan.
We set them all on the edges. And I also, in here, I'll put double ones together, because some rats like to jump. They come up to it, look at it, and jump over. So if it jumps over, it's going to hit the second one. If it goes the other way, it's going to hit the other one. So I've got him whatever way he wants to go.
It looks like Pete is going to win this one, but it's never over until it's over.
The rats are always going to be here, end of. If we knew the answer, there wouldn't be a rat in this country, but there's going to be loads of rats and we're not going to wipe them out, end of. They're too clever. All we can do is control them, and that's it.
Pete leaves the scene in Dagenham confident of victory. But hold on.
In Dagenham, East London, Pete, the council's pest controller, has been called to a house by an old lady who seems to be sharing her garden with an extremely unwelcome visitor.
Well, we've got a lady here on the corner, and we've got a rat problem in the back garden by all accounts. It's possible we might be lucky and see something today. All right, pest control.
Oh, thank God for that. You just missed it. You just missed the thing.
Have we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just missed it.
Just missed the rat.
Just missed the rat.
He may have missed the rat's morning constitutional, but Pete's determined to get as much information as possible on the rat's daily habits, and experience has told him the best place to start.
It's always worth asking people instead of trying to go out there and find the rats or mice or cockroaches. If you ask them, they give you a narrow down because they see them all the time. Well, I don't live here, she does. So it narrows my work, it makes my job a little bit easier.
The lady is only too happy to fill Pete in as to what it's like sharing a garden with the wily rodent.
He came along here,
Yep.
crossed here,
Yep.
jumped over there,
Yep.
and went under the shed. His daughter was sitting here,
Yep.
and when I said, I'm sure I've seen something run by there, and she looked and said, oh, ma'am, she said, there's a rat there with a baby in its mouth. Had a baby in its mouth. A young baby with no skin on.
On this occasion, the information isn't too relevant, so Pete needs to investigate further himself.
Oh, it's locked. When we seen the rat, I locked it.
The rat has been using the cover of the woman's fence to go out foraging at the end of the garden, probably, Pete reckons, on the litter left by the local children.
You've got a little hole there going out into the fence. There could have been kids gone, bought McDonald's, which is only up the road anyway from here. So they've thrown the box down. Of course, the rat comes out. You know what kids are like, throwing it all on the floor, not in the bin. So they've picked it up, dragged it through, and just most probably chewed bits and pieces there.
Now Pete's found the probable food source, he can meticulously evaluate what he's up against.
They're very slow, really, rats, when they run. They sort of arch their back like a ferret, and they're sort of like that movement all the time when they run, and they're sort of scattering. So they like to be a bit like undercover, like an SAS bloke, really, basically. They come out and they just want to be in the sort of smallest gap and work their way through. So they come down here, most probably under the table here, drops down there, makes a little dash to the shed, have a look around, waits till he hears no noise, and then he just ventures its way out and goes somewhere down there.
Pete's got a good idea now of how the rat's operating, so armed with vital clues as to where he's going to lay the poison, he keeps the lady up to speed. But suddenly, from under the shed, the culprit makes an appearance.
It's a big one, that is a big one. I'll tell by the eye.
With the rat keeping a watchful eye, there's no time to lose for Pete to hatch a cunning plan. At the old lady's house, Pete the pest controller has conducted a diligent survey into the habits of the unwelcome rodent that's taken up residence in her garden. While Pete's in the conservatory, the rat boldly continues on his daily rounds as the old lady offers some more advice.
Now, shall I tell you why they always make their home here? Because it's all light, very light round here of a night, but the big wall shelters that bit off. That's why they always come here, love, because nobody can see her run against that wall. This is the fourth time we've had it.
Yeah.
I can't stand it no more. It's either that or moving.
So the pressure's on for Pete to sort the rat out for good. After all his hard work, Pete reckons that the rat has made his home under this concrete paving stone.
I don't know if anything's there, but if anything is under there, it knows I'm here already. It's got two things: it'll either bite you and stay and hold its ground. If it's got babies, you will have a problem. It will stand its ground. What I do is I'll gradually lift it up slowly. Well, we ain't got a rat, but we've got a frog.
So after all his hard work, Pete's managed to upset a small frog, but at least he's located the hole. So Pete pops in a bag of poison and another one under the shed. The poison is only attractive to rats, so there's no danger to the frog.
Job done. Another happy customer.
I'll be happy when I don't see him no more.
Within a few days, Pete returns to find the rats taken the bait, and the lady can now at last have her garden back all to herself.